It's Friday, March 11th, 2022. I'm watching CBS this morning. This is where my story took place. I was in Patchogue, Long Island. It's a Suffolk County. The headstone or the footstone said WIGGINS in the front of the house. It was a house from the 1800s that we were living in. It had a beautiful, like, Victorian porch. It was not a wraparound, and it was a small home. And I was living there with the children. We had just moved from Ronkonkoma. And I would go out on the front porch, and at one point, these gigantic spiders just started appearing. But they were colorful spiders, which to me meant usually the color in the natural world means venomous. But I had no way of figuring out what type of spiders they were. I didn't know who to ask. Or how to research it either. I mean, if I take a photo of the spider, there's no, like, database, like, I don't know, reverse search that you can do on Google. Like, you have to have some kind of word algorithm in order to use Google. So it's totally useless for this instance. But I would go out on the front porch, and then I started taking bug spray, because it was an aerosol, and the barbecue lighter. I started just torching them because they started to become an increase in such ferocity. And I had the baby was all around 2, 3, 4, and he would walk on the front porch. And sometimes I would come in from work. I'd spend a few hours inside. I'd go back outside for a second, and the spiders would be there, and in a full web already. But, like, right as, if you didn't turn the porch light on as you went, you'd walk through the spider webs. So they're showing this giant spider invasion. They're actually showing what the spider species, it looked really similar to whatever this is. And again, in the big wide world of junk genetics, I mean, sending a sign to somebody, it was a very clear sign of, like, didn't really give a crap about my safety.
So sweet.
Because these spiders are not indigenous to New York, and they have to arrive or be placed by something.
I hate to tell you, this is something that is happening, it is coming, and it's a warning. For those of us here, at least in the East, a creepy invasion. Joro spiders, spotted in the southeast, and they can quickly spread up the east coast because, oh my god, I can't look at those. They can exist in colder climates. The spiders are about the size of the palm of your hand. The palm of your hand!
Huge!
They're native to Southeast Asia. Experts think that they hitched a ride in a shipping container. People are saying no worries because they're harmless to the environment and to people as long as you leave them alone. They're venomous. Most spiders are, but their bite is so small it's not enough venom that would hurt you, so they are harmless to people. But I'm not looking at the screen.
When you have small children, I don't trust her. I don't trust her advice. I don't trust her. A spray can, aerosol, and a barbecue lighter to torch them is what worked. To rid them so they didn't have eggs, although someone bought enough of them and planted enough of them that it was several months, and then they'd go away for a while, and then it would come back again.
The screen, I can't.
I've never
look
been the
at
same
spiders
since
like
I
that.
watched Arachnophobia.
Exactly.
I didn't watch it. I turned it off in the shower scene in the very beginning with the spider.
Oh, that was a movie. Now this is his son, but that's the size of my son when my last son, that was the size of what he looked like on the front porch when those giant spiders were arrived or just showed up one day on our front porch. Really frightening. Now this is interesting. Same CBS This Morning. For me, it's March 11th, 2022. My area of New York being the Fish Island, where Long Island is, and Queens. In Queens, I have not had any sports, like, interaction. Like, there's no there's no introduction to it. There hasn't been anything in my life frame. And out in Suffolk, I tried to introduce my kids with baseball, but for themselves, which Alex really took on to. Benjamin not so much, and Dan not so much. But it is nothing like what this man has. This man is a coach for something called Syracuse, which is upstate New York. Upstate New York and downstate New York, two different animals. I mean, we might as well be in Russia and Ukraine. Just worlds apart. So now, his entire career, somebody paid him to stand on the side of a court in a sport he enjoys and coach and be a role model for a whole bunch of humans that like to play this sport. And he got paid for it, and he lived very, very well. I don't see that as a money-making activity. So where was that funding that came from, and why was he chosen to have such a privileged life? I'm just curious, while I'm suffering all the way down in downstate New York in a besiegement of, like, an influx of multiple nations, which is a major problem, while he's having fun just playing basketball and, like, getting, like, to be, like, an awesome dad and, like, role model and stand-up citizen. And I'm being pummeled. My genetics are, like, falling apart. Just curious how that works amongst humanity as a whole.
And his post-game press conferences.
Like, there's a sponsor for this. There's some participation with this, for this level of privilege. What I don't understand is how this level of privilege conducts itself, takes the money for this privilege as supervisory of some sort, has a greater network than I will ever reach. And yet, when I'm being harmed somewhere else, it just goes on for years. And there's been no attempt to induct me into something respectable with my own sons that look and act very much like his two sons. He's sitting there on the basketball court with his two sons, which are the loves of his life, as mine are, for Alexander, Benjamin, and Dan. And their persona, their way of being, very much like Daniel, Benjamin, and Alex. But yet, they live a life of privilege. They're in a world of basketball my kids have never even been introduced into, not even a possibility, and certainly not at the level that Syracuse has been invested into as a society of some sort. My kids have been held totally at the other spectrum of being neglected and abused by the system that pays very well for other people to live privileged.
All that matters, and you know this, is what you do in the NCAA tournament.
But off the court,
he's goofy, he's fun, he messes around with us, he loves our dogs. I mean, he's singing in the car to Bruce.
And my kids don't have a dad like this. Neither. All four of my kids, whatever their dad's situation is, he's a over 6 foot tall, handsome something that doesn't exist in this area of New York for my life frame and my story. So humans don't mess this up any further.
or to Bruce Springsteen or whatever comes on the radio.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's like Clint Eastwood doesn't shoot people in real life.
Right, of course.
I don't yell at everybody. Like, the games, basketball is different. That's a different thing out there. That's your different personality. And my proudest thing is my 4 kids. They have far eclipsed anything I've done basketball-wise. They've just been great people. They're great people. They get along with everybody.
And because of this shitty situation that these people have put me into, I don't even get to enjoy my children like this at this point, because I'm too busy having to document for the people of privilege to explain to them just how disgusting the people live that are not privileged, that are partly their relatives and family. Now, that's an extra burden on me after being raped, abused, and neglected for 43 years. That then to ask that level of service for me while my children are taken from my everyday, that's a real problem. New York and United States of North America. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.